Hey everyone, welcome to Strange Stories, where we explore near-death experiences and supernatural stories from people who've had a glimpse of the other side. If you enjoy our content, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel. Without further ado, let's get to the story of the day. In March 1994, I was sharing a flat in Folkestone, England, with a guy I thought was a friend. He had wormed his way into staying in my flat spare room, but I had no idea he wanted the entire flat to himself. After a possible murder attempt on me 2 months later, he would lock me out of my own home on my 25th birthday. It was the most beautiful flat I'd ever had, ranging from a huge attic flat to a century-old mansion. The entrance to the flat was a curving stairwell that led up into the flat's center beneath a massive stained glass skylight. It was both beautiful and unusual. A lovely wooden balcony rail surrounded the stairwell, with rooms leading off in all directions. A group of my friends saw something on this balcony a few months before this experience. They claimed it was the ghost of a man, almost like a shadow, walking along the balcony and collapsing in front of the living room. The strange thing is that this ghost appeared to be exactly like me. My neighbor hosted a party in March, which I attended. I left the party and returned to my apartment. I recall leaving the party and walking back, but my mind has blocked out entering my flat. My next memory is standing at the top of the stairwell. My wrist cut open with a 3-inch long wound right across my wrist and cut so deep that the injury had gone through tendons to the bone. As I stumbled around the balcony, I noticed my flatmate and his girlfriend sleeping on the living room floor. I yelled for help and collapsed right where my friends had seen the ghost fall. My energy levels were rapidly dwindling. Fortunately, even though my flatmate and his girlfriend refused to leave, I had 2 other friends staying with me. My other friend awoke to the sound of my cries for help, discovered me on the floor bleeding profusely, and yelled at me to wake up. My friend had no idea what to do, but he knew his girlfriend was trained in first aid. Until his girlfriend awoke, my friend instinctively put both his thumbs inside my wrist to try to stop the bleeding. When his girlfriend noticed my injury, she dashed to the kitchen for a tea towel, wrapped it around my wrist, elevated my arm, and told her boyfriend to call an ambulance. When my friend returned, he attempted to awaken our other friend, who refused to wake up. My friend even picked him up and dropped him where my flatmate was standing. He was still sleeping. This is one of many reasons why I now believe my flatmate attempted murder rather than suicide. While we waited for the ambulance, my friend and his girlfriend stayed with me. They also accompanied me to the hospital. I saw a South African doctor in the emergency room. He was called away from his examination in the middle of it for an emergency chest operation to save someone's life. I was talking to my friend's girlfriend when I lost consciousness while he was away. It was such a soothing sensation, slipping away like that. My entire being seemed to shift. The first thing I noticed was an incredible sense of calm and relaxation. Every single negative human emotion had simply vanished, leaving me feeling absolutely fantastic. Imagine your biggest high, multiply it by 1,000, and you'll still be nowhere near this wonderful, safe feeling. After that, I found myself in a blue tunnel. The color was an electric blue, similar to what you'd find on certain LED Christmas lights nowadays. It was a vibrant and beautiful color. I floated gently and slowly through this tunnel, completely relaxed. I can even tell you how big the tunnel is. It had a diameter of 2,000 feet. Eventually, I could see a point in the distance that was a hive of intense activity. The blue tunnel became the white tunnel at this point, a very clear transition. Because there was so much light coming from the white tunnel, it was impossible to see into it. There was also a strong sense of love and instant knowledge emanating from this source. You had a feeling. The blue tunnel could handle 2-way traffic, whereas the white tunnel could only handle 1-way traffic from the Earth plane. There was no turning back once you entered the white tunnel. The light from this tunnel was so bright that it would have blinded me in normal circumstances, but it was warm, safe, and full of love here. The activity became more visible as I approached the transition point between the blue and white tunnels. Many souls could be seen on both sides of the transition point. There were many souls coming from the earth plane, including myself. All of these souls were met by groups of souls that had emerged from the white tunnel. Each soul seemed to have its own entourage of souls from the other side to meet them. Some were greeted with open arms and carefully guided through the transition point and into the wonderful light of the white tunnel. Others were met with discussions, and still others were turned back toward the earth plane. When I finally arrived at the transition, the first thing I did was take a thorough look around. This is how I learned about the diameter of the tunnel. This transition point, with all the souls coming and going, was quite a sight to behold. It was a very busy and unexpected place. When I met my own entourage of souls, I could clearly see that they were human, but they were beings of light in this existence. They appeared to be the same shade of electric blue as the first tunnel. I was greeted with great affection and urgency. I was held, and I was imbued with knowledge. This was not my time, I was told, but it was meant to be. It was the only way my life could change for the better. I was given so much information that it would normally overflow in your head, but I was told that each piece of information would become available to me when I needed it. The knowledge that was brought to my attention at the time, which I felt to the core of my being. Time is an illusion created by humanity. It simply does not exist. From the other side, traveling to any point in time is as simple as crossing the street. It's difficult to put into words the sense of belonging that these souls brought with them. I think I knew them all, but I'm not sure how because my time there was limited. I eventually had to say goodbye and was returned to my body so quickly that I awoke with a start, shocking the South African doctor and my friends. When I lost consciousness, it appears that I'd lost so much blood that my heart stopped beating. My friends tracked down the doctor, who took one look at me and punched me in the ribcage above my heart. This immediately took me back. This doctor later told me that he'd worked in African war zones and was used to operating on people with minimal equipment. This was fortunate for me because I was still in the emergency room waiting area. When I returned, the first thing I checked was that my ring finger was still intact. I watched the doctor reassemble my wrist with great interest. He had to reach deep inside my arm to retrieve a snapped tendon and sew it back together. At this point, all I could think about was the scene in Terminator 2 when he removes the skin from his hand to demonstrate that he's a robot. I eventually regained most of my hand's function. I can still only feel in half of it because the other half has been completely numb for years. Some jumbled nerves have now grown back. If I touch the base of my thumb, I can feel it in my index finger. But I've learned to live with it and can still type and play keyboard despite having only 7 of my 10 fingers and thumbs fully functional. I was told I was clinically dead for at least 30 seconds, which doesn't seem like a long time. Nonetheless, I had plenty of time to have my NDE, which seemed like hours at the time. I needed a long time to recover mentally after going through so much. As a result, I lost my job and 2 months later, on my 25th birthday, I returned home to find my flatmate had put a padlock on the outside of my door. "You don't live here anymore," he said. He was clearly after my flat and would go to any length to get it. So I lost my job, became homeless, and was very upset. Years later, I can appreciate the whole thing. I would have probably worked myself to death on the path I was on. I'm 39 years old and about to launch my own astrology business, but it's taken years and years of soul searching to get here. I am now even more spiritual than I was before.